Welcome, and thank you for tuning in to Black Women Amplified, the podcast. Your host, Monica Wisdom Tyson, brings you downloadable conversations that matter to women around the globe. We discuss all things Black girl magic, amplify our voices, and transform our challenges into triumphs. Monica calls on her league of extraordinary women to push our boundaries, share their expertise, and stories of personal transformation. Welcome your host of Black Women Amplified, Monica Wisdom Tyson.
Hello, Black Women Amplified family. This is your girl, Monica Wisdom. I am the CEO of BlackWomenAmplified.com, as well as the host and the producer of this amazing podcast, Black Women Amplified. Let me tell you, I am excited to be with you today. It has been quite a week so far. I celebrated my cousin's 85th birthday, which is truly, truly, truly a blessing, at his niece's house on Sunday. I did an interview on Instagram Live with a young artist, and now I'm here with you today. And I'm prepping for 2 incredible interviews to come out there with my editor now, and I can't wait for you to hear them. Just cultivating and curating a beautiful Women's History Month experience for all of you all across the world. So I want to say thank you for being here. Thank you for rocking with Black Women Amplified. I really appreciate it. I mean, our reach has gone all the way to Tanzania, South Africa, Brazil, Belgium, all across the United States, Canada, even to Asia, Japan. So everybody who's listening from wherever you're listening to, I really appreciate you being here and taking the time to listen every week. It's truly a blessing. I'm very grateful for this. I wanted to talk about, it is Women's History Month. And if you're not in America, it's something that we celebrate. I don't know if you celebrate it where you are. I would love to know. You can always hit me up in the DM on the Instagram page for Black Women Amplify and let me know, do you all celebrate Women's History Month where you are? And we just came out of Black History Month, and it's been a great celebration. I love scrolling through social media and hearing all of the stories of people, some people I knew, but I didn't know particular parts of their lives. Some people I didn't know and am just discovering now. So it's always exciting when I get to see the celebration of people and their cultures, other genders, other sexualities. I get to hear the stories of people that we seem to erase often these days. So it's important that our stories get out there as much as possible. And, I feel really special being a Black woman because we actually get 2 months. We get Black History Month and we get Women's History Month. So I'm excited I always love reading the stories. It's very empowering to see people who have lived their dreams, who have gone through challenges and have been able to do incredible things. And that is truly the premise of this podcast, to have ordinary women doing extraordinary things to share their stories, and for a space for me to share my story and my ideas and my perspective on life. It's important that we have a platform where we can share who we are off of social media, because as we know, social media just gives the highlight reel. Look at what I'm eating. Look at where I am. Look at who I'm with. And that's great, but there's also a story behind the photograph. That's one reason why I love to go to the museum. So I see a picture and I'm able to hear the story, especially if you do a guide. Have you ever done a guided tour at an art museum? It's the best because you get to hear the history of the story, of the picture, of the moment, of the video. The last exhibit I went to, I think I talked about it a little bit, let me get comfortable in my chair, was the Mandela exhibit at the Science Center. The Science Center here always does incredible exhibits that actually have nothing to do with science. And so I was able to hear the stories and follow the guide, although the guide didn't know that much. But luckily, a lot of Mandela's work was recorded. So anyway, and to see the love story between him and Winnie, that always just warms my heart. You talk about a woman, what they call her, a ride or die? Winnie Mandela is a ride or die. She waited for that man. And not only did she wait I had the privilege of going to South Africa many years ago. And to see the work that she did while he was away was incredible. Even when I talked to the people there, they said they wanted Winnie Mandela to become the president, but it acquiesced to Nelson Mandela. So he did his thing, but it was beautiful to know that they believed in her enough as a woman, especially during that time, to be the president of their country, to lead them into the next realm after apartheid ended. And it's important that we celebrate people like Winnie Mandela, Maya Angelou, and Josephine Baker. But it's also very important that we celebrate the people that are around us, the people not just around the world, but the people that are in our world, that are in our orbit, the people down the street, the people, that you went to school with, the people that you celebrate your good and your bad times with, the people in your family, those that inspire you personally. They also have a history. They have a history with you. They have a history of their life and their journey. So it's very important to celebrate them as well. And there are, I just want to take a quick moment to celebrate 3 women in my life that have had a phenomenal impact on me. And that is my Aunt Christy, who I'm sure you've heard me talk about a million times. If you've ever been around me, I talk about her. I talk about her more than I talk about my own mother. She's truly a mother to me, and she's truly mothered me in many, many ways. And I'm very grateful for her. But my Aunt Christy is a dynamic woman she's my mom's sister. They're close. I want to say they're less than 2 years apart. And they were like frick and frack. My mom couldn't wait to see her sister. And my aunt is one of the stories of history that one of many, I'm sure, but she told me a while ago when I interviewed Jennifer Arnold. I was talking to her about Jennifer and her role in the orchestra, because my aunt, her career was in music education in the state of Florida. And she worked with, I don't want to get it wrong, so I'm not going to say it. But she worked in music education as an administrator, and she was over foreign languages, music education, and other aspects of the arts. And so I was talking to her about Jennifer Arnold, and she told me about the time when she was a young girl. She wasn't a woman, a young girl, and she was one of the first teachers of a Dr. John D. Kendall. Dr. John D. Kendall, if you ever heard of the Suzuki method, let me get my words together. Full disclosure, this is the 3rd time I have recorded this episode. I have been having all kind of technical challenges, but I'm going to push through just like the women who pushed through before. So let me calm down and get my words together. But Dr. John Kendall, brought the Suzuki method to the United States. And if you ever have seen videos where you see the little kids playing the violin, these little bitty violins, these little bitty kids, and they're all succinct playing this method, it's called the Suzuki method. And she was actually one of the first children in America to work with him. Now, she didn't go on, she played the piano. She didn't go on, I don't know if she practiced the violin with him or the extent. I've been trying to get her to come on here and tell this story, but like most women in my life, they like to remain in the background and do their work there. But anyway, she was one of the first people to work with him. And I know on the Google it says Ohio, but he actually brought it to Alton, Illinois first. And he brought it, and she said she just distinctly remembers passing out flyers to the performance for the Suzuki method. And so she was one of the first kids, a little Black girl in Alton, Illinois from Edwardsville, who was one of the first kids in America to ever work with this professor and with the Suzuki method. I think that's pretty historic, and that's pretty much I think it's a big deal, especially if you look at all the kids in orchestra now who went through that program all around the world. And that's just a historical moment of hers. But she is one of the most gracious people I've ever met. And the one thing that she has taught me that I'm grateful for is integrity. Do what I say I'm going to do. She is a big person, a big champion of living a life of integrity. And that is one thing that I have learned from her. One of many things I have learned from her. And I'm very grateful for that, because I do push myself that if I say I'm going to do something, I get it done. It might take me 15 different tries, but I'm going to complete what I say I'm going to complete. And I'm just really grateful for her and her support of me. And she's an amazing wife, mother, partner, grandmother, and a spectacular aunt. And I just love her with my whole entire heart. And then my cousin Alice Wyndham, who passed away in 2022. If you know about my love for Africa, for the continent, the love for Black people, the deep, deep, deep love I have for Black women. I got that from my cousin Alice. I grew up and I'm still growing, in a family of very strong Black women. And my cousin Alice is a person who knows the history of our country, knows the history of the continent, and has worked and lived on the continent of Africa. So my mom, she loved her cousin Alice. So anytime her cousin Alice came to town, she had to go see her. And of course, I was right there with her. Hey, family, listen. If you're like me, life gets crazy and hectic, and sometimes our body needs a little extra love. For years, I've been using something that has been a game changer for me, as well as recommending it to my clients. I'd like to introduce you to Vital Body. It is packed with 37 fruits and vegetables, 19 herbs and spices, prebiotics, 15 strands of probiotics, 21 different enzymes, and I'm telling you what, you get 100% of your daily dose of 21 vitamins and minerals straight from nature. This product contains no GMOs and it is vegan friendly. And here's the best thing. There are no artificial flavors. So if you're ready to kick off your vitality journey and you want to feel better daily, and if you're like me, you want a little extra sleep throughout the night, head on over to vitalbody.com/Monica. And because you are a member of the Black Women Amplified family, they are graciously giving us an extra 20% off of our order. Just use the code MONICA20. Get prepared. I can't wait for you to try it. Head on over to vitalbody.com/Monica and start your vitality journey today. And I remember one day they were having a party for her at her brother's house, Jack Wyndham, and all the kids were in the basement playing. Not me. I was couched behind a big chair and listening to all the grown-ups talk. And my cousin Alice just glowed. She had this beautiful African dress that I knew was customized to her body and that her head was wrapped up. And I modeled my life after her. She was a champion for Black empowerment. She traveled the world. She had intellectual conversations. She worked for the ambassador to Ethiopia and Ghana. She worked for the United Nations in Ghana. And she was one of the main people that organized Malcolm X's trip while he was in Africa. And all the pictures you see of him in Ghana, she took those photographs. And Maya Angelou moved to Ghana and lived with her and another woman named Vicky Garvin. I wish somebody would tell that story. Unfortunately, the three women have passed away, so I don't know who would tell that story. I think Maya's son is still living, and he was over there with her, but that's a hidden figure story, another hidden figure story somebody needs to tell of those three women in Ghana. But Alice had a very, very, very deep love for Black people, and she instilled that in me. And so when you see my radical side, my power to the people side, I got that from Alice. And then there's my best friend Shakira, who is a Southern girl from Savannah, Georgia, and she taught me grace. Anytime I'm gracious, I got it from her because she knows how to tell me to, hey, I'm always on a 10 and she's always at about maybe it simmers around a 3.5. And she is, I call her the queen of philanthropy. She has worked for Jackie Joyner Kersey's foundation. She used to run the Missouri part of Colin Powell's America's Promise. So Colin Powell was her boss, the 5-star general. She's worked for the Boys and Girls Club, Herbert Hoover's Boys Club. If it's philanthropy, she's done it. And her whole passion in life is to make sure that young people have a place to feel safe and to express themselves. And so she has sacrificed to make sure that that happens for as many children as possible. And I love it. And she's a great mother of 3 kids. And I'm her youngest son's godmother. He's my baby. He's really my baby. She just had him. I used to call her my baby mama. And I realized, that don't sound right. So she's my godson's mom. But she is the epitome of grace, Southern charm, and amazing wife, grandmother now. And we have truly grown up together in so many ways. And we are the type of friends that we could spend every day together or no days together, but the love is always there. So I say all that to say, those are the women in my life that are in my world, that have helped me become the woman that I am. So when you see me, I stand on their shoulders, truly. Because I tell you, the childhood I had, I was a mess. And I needed a lot of people to help get me together. So those are the three people in my family that have made an impact on me. And so I hope you take some time to look at the people in your world and, hey, give them a call, write them a note, send them a letter that says, thank you. This is what you mean to me. This is what you have shared with me. And this is how it has changed my life. They will really appreciate just being recognized and acknowledged. Of course, they'll say, oh, girl, you know I love you. That's fine because we're not good at receiving. But I think it would be a great time this month to just send a little thank you note to the people that have impacted your life. And also, we celebrate the people of the world, the Josephine Bakers, the Catherine Dunhams. And then we celebrate the people in our world, our aunts, our cousins, our best friends. But then there's also a place in Women's History Month where you have to celebrate yourself because you too are making history every day that you breathe. And I know for us, it doesn't seem like a big deal because we just put our head down and we do our work. And unfortunately, with social media, we get into a lot of comparison. So we little what we do. You work that, like some people will say, you work that little job you're doing. How's that little relationship you in? How's that little project you're working on? But everything you do is a big deal, especially in a world that doesn't see us as a big deal. So anytime you want to celebrate yourself, make it happen. And often I know that Gwyneth Paltrow came out and made a statement, and I'm summarizing it because I'm not going to quote her, but summarizing that Black women, we celebrate each other. We don't compete against one another. We celebrate each other. And it's so interesting because they often say Black women don't get along. I disagree. I've never had a disagreement in a sense of somebody trying to take something from me. There might have been a difference of opinion that got heated, but the women in my life have been very supportive of me. All the women, all the colors, all the rainbows, but Black women especially, there's a shared experience where we know we have to love on each other because the world doesn't love on us. And so as individuals, it's important that we love on ourselves in a whole new way, which is why I developed Season 3 is all about self-love, the season of you, because I wanted you to take moments, just like I've had to take moments, to really look in the mirror and celebrate myself. And for you to celebrate yourself, because often we look in the mirror and we see what we don't like, what needs to be fixed, what's wrong with us, the trauma, all the things. We're so focused on therapy and healing that we often look past what we need to appreciate. Our strength and our resilience and our power and our innovation and our intuition, those gifts that God gave us so that we could go forward to the next step and the next step and the next step. So it's important that we not only appreciate ourselves and celebrate ourselves, but tell our stories. We always talk about legacy building, but the most important part about building a legacy is talking about it, archiving it, writing it down, sharing it with people. And there's 3 times that we, and in the general public, I'm not talking about if you're a movie star or somebody's done a documentary on you, but just in everyday life, we hear about things that our friends do or our family does when either they're getting an award or they're giving a speech, or unfortunately when they pass away. You start to hear things and you're like, I had no idea. I was sitting next to such and so, and I had no idea that they cured lung clots and blah, 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 or whatever they did, because we don't have those conversations. And my idea about why we don't have those conversations is because as women, we are not taught to brag on ourselves. We're not taught to speak up for ourselves. We're taught to fight for ourselves when it's time for us to defend ourselves, but actually saying, hey, I'm the SHIT. I'm excellent at what I do. We know it, but there's a society that says you don't deserve to be here. We can talk about imposter syndrome. We can talk about lack of self-esteem. We can talk about all of these things. even though we're highly accomplished, I remember I sent and I don't even think about the things I'm speaking to myself too. I don't even think about the things I've done in my life. And for some reason, I had to send my bio to my best friend. And she was like, she cussed me out in her own. She doesn't really cuss me out, but she cussed me out in her own way and was like, I had no idea that you did any of this. I said, really? You were right. I mean, like, I was talking to you almost every day. She's like, yeah, fool, but you weren't talking about this. Oh, so I know if I'm having that conversation with my bestie, you are also having it with yours. And we look for our friends to be there for us in all times, but oftentimes we're doing things that we don't share. So I invite you during Women's History Month to look at your life, your accomplishments, your milestones, the trials that you have overcome, the trauma that you have overcome, all the things, and celebrate yourself, not just for your resilience, but for your accomplishments and your milestones. You know, those times where you got awarded at work, or that time that you won that grant that you've been wanting. But so often we accomplish something and then we move on to the next thing and we do not celebrate ourselves. So let this Women's History Month be about you, where you can celebrate yourself, where you can tell your story and find a way to tell your story, even if you just put it in a journal. I remember there was a whole project that went out. I think HBO did it, but it was about the slave narratives. And somebody had gone and recorded the stories of the people who had been through slavery and they were still alive. So they were able to tell their own stories. So you hear their voices and you hear their pain and you hear their celebration of being free and everything that they went to. You got to hear their tone and their personalities. And it just humanized the whole experience because, when in Jim Crow and during enslavement, we were subhuman, right? So it's important to tell our stories to humanize our own existence to ourselves and to others. So I invite you. You don't have to do a podcast, but you can pick up your phone and record the stories and upload them to the cloud. You can get a journal and start writing things down because maybe one day you'll want to write a book, but you can't quite remember all the details of what's happening right now. And I'm bad about that. I pulled out a journal that I bought when I was in South Africa and I read it. I was like, girl, it just showed me how far I have grown. I was like, thank you, Jesus. I'm not there anymore. And it really helped me to be like, okay, you're stronger than you think you are. You're going to be okay. You are okay. So take a moment to not only celebrate yourself, examine your life to see how far you've come, but archive it. That is the most important part of a legacy, is to know that is for people in the future to know that you were here. Not only that you were here, but what you accomplished, what you went through, how you got through it, and why it mattered. So all of those elements come together and they make your story. And your story matters, your story is important, and you are the perfect person to tell it. So you may not get interviewed. You may get interviewed. You may be a business person that needs to get the word out about who you are and you don't know where to begin. Pen and paper and just start writing. And freely write without editing yourself. And understand that who you are is important. Understand that where you are in your life is important. And it's important. It's going to be more important for somebody who comes behind you than it is for yourself, because that means that you have forged a path for other people to walk freely. So I just wanted to say that, to celebrate yourself. This is Women's History Month, and continue to tune in to the podcast because we have some incredible conversations coming up. If you have missed conversations in the past, please go through the archives and listen to the stories of these incredible women, because like me, you will be inspired. The things that they have been through, and they have not just their accomplishments, but the magic that happens in their lives. And then you'll see yourself in their stories to know how magnificent you are, because in essence of everything, we are all just each other's reflection. So thank you for listening. I am excited that you're here. Please take some time wherever you're listening now to subscribe. Leave a rating and a review of the podcast. Let the world know how much you love it. And please share it. Be my podcast warriors and share this with friends. Don't forget to bookmark www.blackwomenamplified.com. Don't forget to go there to join our newsletter and stay connected as many ways as possible. We have some exciting things coming up. And as we roll through the ending of season 3 of Women's History Month, I am already plotting and planning season 4, and I can't wait to take you on that journey with me. Have an amazing day, and thank you for all that you do and all that you are, because in Women's History Month, I also celebrate you. Have an amazing night.
Thank you for listening to Black Women Amplified. We hope you enjoyed the show. Be sure to subscribe and log on to blackwomenamplified.com for more information. Keep shining.